Hey, what's up, everyone? This is 33, aka Derek Bros, and I'm here with my friend Grant Presence Elman. What's going on, brother?
What's up? How are we today?
Doing good, man. We're here today. We're gonna do a live, sort of impromptu, to talk about a tour that we're about to do. We're actually going to be joined by our friend Dub FX, who's the headliner of this tour that we're both just really stoked to be joining on. He should be here shortly. He's in Portugal, so he's a little further ahead than us and time, but he'll be here in a little bit. But right now, I mean, let's just get into it, Grant. I mean,
Yeah.
what are you thinking? How are you feeling about the tour, man? We're like 3 weeks, 4 weeks away.
Yeah, I'm feeling great personally. I've been doing several shows recently, locally and just around, and going out to Confluence next week to play. And I've just been really putting the intention on getting my set as tight as I possibly can. I actually, the first time I kind of debuted this whole set that I've been working on with the live looping of different instruments, and this whole set kind of started off at the People's Reset in the UK. So it's kind of cool that now it's full circle, and we got to open for Dub at People's Reset UK, and now we're bringing this whole show once again to several dates in the United States. So I'm super excited. I'm feeling pretty solid about my material and getting some new tracks finished up as well that I can debut on the tour. So super pumped.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome, man. I just want to, for those who don't know that, like, it is like a full circle moment. I mean, I think in multiple ways, but definitely what you were just describing, like we got to bring WFX, who's been a long inspiration of mine, and I know yours as well, to the UK, hang out with him, perform with him, and then bring him to Mexico for the People's Reset in Mexico in January, and his wife down to Morelia, and just have another amazing time with all of our friends and everybody performing together, and just, yeah, epic. And then now going on tour together, and I mean, I just kind of like maneuvered my way into this. It feels like a huge honor to continue performing with you, brother, because I mean, I think I'm still the youngest in this in terms of making music like this way, outside of the way I used to make music. So it still feels like I'm learning from you. I'm learning from Dub FX and others. And it's just going to be an honor to get to perform some of my songs and to perform with you, do the songs that we've recorded together. And I think probably both of us are going to be performing with Dub FX as well. So it's going to be epic. I can't wait.
Yeah, super excited. It's actually funny because you said he's been a long inspiration of yours. I know you've been listening to him for probably 15 years or something like that. And it's funny because every single person I talk to who I tell that I'm going to be joining on tour, they're like, "Oh, I've been listening to him for like 15 years." Like he really has that audience that just goes way back, like this stream of dedicated fans. And I think that's really due to his authenticity and his commitment to just staying in integrity with his message and staying in integrity with his core philosophy. So maybe we can get into a little bit of that today.
Yeah.
And but for myself personally, I wasn't really familiar with his music very much. I'd heard it here and there, but for some reason had never dove into it. And then when I heard him perform headline at People's Reset UK, it was just a complete mind blower experience. And those kind of mind blowing experiences live is what, encourages me to really get into an artist and listen to their music. And ever since then, I've been listening to his music nonstop, and just feels like such an honor to be able to learn from him, like you said, and just be able to, and also learn from you, man. Like I know you said you're the green one here, but I feel like I'm the green one here. So I'm grateful to be here, and yeah, just really excited to be able to share the music and the message in a way that feels intentional and true to ourselves, and just to be doing it independently. It just feels awesome.
Absolutely. So, yeah, and let's go ahead and just get right to the point and show everybody the dates. So again, Dub FX, myself, 33, Prezence. We're going on tour May 29th, May 30th, 31st, June 18th, and June 19th. Salt Lake City, Utah, Denver, Colorado, Aztec, New Mexico for the Rise and Vibes Festival, which will be my first time there. Super stoked on that one. And then Portland, Oregon, and Seattle, Washington. The best place to get the tickets for sure is through WFX's website. They've got all the links to the different cities there. And this is going to be actually the first time, if I remember correctly, the first time he's come back to the US since 2013 or 2014 was the first time that I connected with him. He came to New York City, and it was like his first time coming to the US, and they only did a few dates, if I remember. Got to do an interview with him, which actually the anniversary of that like just passed last week, and I sent him a picture last week. I was like, dude, look at this. Me and you met like 11, 12 years ago. and now I'm getting to perform with you. So it's definitely for me like a full circle moment in that sense. And then, you know, like you talked about listening to his music for a long time. Definitely, I mean, 2011, 2012, these are like the first couple years after I was starting to wake up and the Occupy movement was going on and the Fed stuff. There's just a lot of like, something was in the air, a lot of excitement, a lot of community going on where I was active in Houston, and his music was kind of always in the sound, like the soundtrack in the background when I first heard some of his stuff. And I saw the videos, which a lot, for those who don't know, I mean, you got to go check out his videos of him like performing in the streets. He still does that, but that was kind of like what got him noticed by a lot of people, just doing live shows, setting up with his loop pedals and everything else and looping his voice and just doing it in the street and building beats and building songs right there in person. And of course, as you guys can imagine, being on this channel, and if you've heard me talk with Prezence before in the interview we did, or you've heard his songs or our song Taxation is Theft, the message is very conscious. And that's what I think is even cooler, is that like DubFX is extremely talented in so many ways and got a brilliant mind, but more importantly than that, his message and his awareness, like you said, his self-awareness, but also in the lyrics and everything are it's so powerful. So those are the dates again, guys. May 29th, May 30th, May 31st, June 18, June 19, go to dubfx.com. And I'm really hoping that some of you out there who I've got to know, who know me by my alter ego, Derek Bros, and my journalism, that you guys will come out and join us as well. Even if you never heard me perform, you don't know Prezence's music, you don't know DubFX. If you enjoy good music overall, I think you're going to want to come, just connect, hang out, meet other like-minded people. And then I think for us too, it's like kind of a way of, like, at least I'll speak for myself. Like I've mainly been performing over the years, the last 5 years that I've been doing 33, to freedom events and, you know, some shows that were separately from that I played in Houston, but for the most part playing to freedom minded people. And I think this is going to be cool because I believe that his audience, many of them I think are going to be aware of some of the things we're going to be, you know, singing about and talking about, but some are probably just there for a good time, but they're going to hear the message either way, whether that's through him, through you, or through me. And I think that's always cool, is like how those things kind of intersect. But yeah, man, what do you think about that? I mean, do you feel like your audience is all kind of, obviously I think you're more blatant with the message than I am even, and maybe even him, which I appreciate and I respect. I tend to be more like kind of metaphoric or even abstract, and sometimes not as blatant. Like I think the song we did, Taxation is Theft, is probably the most out in the open I've been with my message. But yeah, how do you feel about that whole thing?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm trying to be a little less blatant with my message and the stuff that I'm writing currently, but for whatever reason, it seems like the more direct and to the point I am, the more it's received by my audience. And you know, I got to give it to people like Max Egan for really getting my music out to a wider audience, and people like yourself as well, Derek, because if it wasn't for people like you giving me a platform, I don't know, you know, if people would even be aware of it. So I'm just grateful to get to share. And I think what you're saying is totally true. You know, the one thing that's so cool about Dub is that he's been able to connect with so many diehard fans over the years. And I think that the message that's woven into the music, you know, maybe not everybody is ready for the full depth of that message all the time, but music is about meeting people where they're at and transmitting a frequency of upliftment, fulfillment, love, you know, inspiration, things like that. And so it doesn't matter if people necessarily understand every single one of my lyrics. In fact, it's highly unlikely that anybody would understand every single one of my lyrics, because it comes so fast. And the point of it is more so creating a frequency of upliftment. And one other thing
planting the seeds too.
Yeah, planting the seeds, exactly. And one other thing along those lines that I wanted to mention is DubFX has this track called Teach, where it's like, I will teach what I know. You can plant a seed, watch it grow. You can only reap what you sow. I dedicate my life to the spirit. Come and get with it. Like, that's the hook. And I've been just loving that track lately. And I feel like, you know, he really lives that in terms of just being willing to share his knowledge and not being like on this pedestal of, oh, I'm this major international headlining touring artist, but being willing to connect with guys like ourselves and give us the opportunity. Like at the show we did in Morelia this past February, I still have people talking about how legendary and how epic that experience was, just because it was such a spirit of collaboration, and anybody who wanted to get up and rock the mic or collaborate in some way was able to do that. And that's so inspiring to see. And I feel like he really lives that message through his performances. So that's one thing that I'm really excited for people to experience and to share.
Yeah, that was definitely for sure a night to remember. I definitely encourage people to come out next time to the People's Reset or really any of these shows. But there was something special about that. And I do think it was that spirit of collaboration. Like you said, I mean, WFX, he's being paid for us to bring him and his wife to Mexico from the UK, from Portugal, but through the UK. So they had to go through all these flights, all this travel. You would understand if they wanted to get on stage and just say, hey, I want to get every minute that I came here for to do what I want to do. But instead, like you said, super gracious with their time, their stage, and just, I got to go up there, you up there, everybody was just getting down and just sharing their message. It was just so beautiful. So I look forward to more of that. I want to share this comment real quick we got from Daryl on YouTube. He says, I think reaching people on social media is coming to an end. So stuff like this tour is going to be necessary going forward. And I definitely agree with that. Like I've seen that with, I got to tour back in the day when I was doing metal bands, but that was completely different because the message was kind of there, but it just wasn't the same. But then getting to do 4 tours as first as a speaker, and then eventually getting to do my talks and my music together, 3 tours of the US, a tour of Mexico, and then many tours of Europe here and there. I've seen firsthand just how important it is. And honestly, I think way more effective than social media. Memes are cool, videos are cool, things online are cool, but there's definitely something else to be said when somebody comes in person and hears you talk or meditates with you or listens to your song or whatever, and you have that face-to-face connection. It's much, much bigger than I think anything else we can do online. Again, obviously the internet stuff does have a role, but it's just way more powerful to make that in-person connection. So again, I highly recommend everybody come on. I got an update from WFX here. 10-hour blackout in Europe just came back on. I'll be there in 15. All right. Well, I did see that. I did read that in the news this morning. I didn't even think about that. There was a huge blackout across parts of Europe, Spain, and elsewhere. So he'll be here soon. But yeah, if you can make it in person, come hang out. I know we're going to talk more about some of the announcements he's made recently, where he's actually getting to do before he comes to the U.S. and after the U.S. He's doing a tour across Europe and Spain and elsewhere that they're calling the Open Secret Society Tour. And I definitely want to get him to comment on that before in just a little bit. But tell us what you're working on right now, brother. Do you got anything new you're going to be debuting for the tour specifically? I know you're working hard on the set.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I've been working on is first of all, before we go to that, I wanted to say I completely agree with what you're saying about how getting out in person and Daryl's comment and just meeting people and having that in-person experience. I think that is really where it's at, honestly, because we can just get lost in the constant, there's just so much going on in social media these days to where it's this kind of sensory overload. And I don't think that sensory overload always comes in necessarily a beneficial way. And instead, if you go to a WFX show and you hear some drum and bass, that's going to be a sensory overload in a way that's going to rock your body to its core and uplift every vibration and every cell in your body. So, and I think, kind of getting back to what we were talking about before, all of us are going to be super down to just hang out with people, chat with people for as long as we can after the shows as well. So I just think that in-person experience is really where it's at. And that's where I get the most fulfillment, is just connecting with live audiences in person. So I really hope as many people can be there as possible. As for what I'm working on, I have been putting out a few new tunes recently and working on a bunch of new beats and rhythms and stuff like that. And every time I come out with a new track, it's kind of a whole process to get it into my looping set. So I have to kind of take some of the key elements from the tracks, like the backing vocals and some of the synth parts, and then I have to put them into a different backing track, and then basically figure out how I can actually recreate a whole song that I've produced on the fly live with live instruments. And every single time I do it, it's really fun and it's really fulfilling, but it's also like a mental puzzle where I have to do a bunch of computer coding to get everything to work the way I want it to. And, the guitar solo comes in at the right time and different things come in at the right times, and certain instruments are looping for certain amounts of measures for certain amounts of time. And so to get it to all come together, each song is kind of like its own like thing. It's like a whole project. So that's kind of what I've been working on, is just working on getting the new material into my live set so that I can share those songs on stage with y'all. And Taxation is Theft is a perfect example of like how, that was a really fun song, because that had a really interesting intro where the song goes to this completely other kind of almost more rock hardcore type of vibe in the intro and the outro. So getting the song to flow between the loop that I do and then also that intro and outro and then working in your verses, it was a really fun challenge. And the times that we've gotten to perform that, I've had a ton of fun, and I'm super stoked that we get to do that again on this tour. So it's going to be great.
Dude, that's epic, all the time and the energy you put into that. I mean, that's mad respect for that, because I know that's, yeah, it's all like we were talking before we recorded, just the work that goes in behind the scenes to create the product that you want to share with the world, right? And then it's worth it once you actually get to share it and watch people enjoy it and take it in. And yeah, it's super, super cool to see you do your thing. And also watch you and DubFX kind of compare notes and stuff, because I've always been a fan of looping, and I've got like vocal loop pedals, but I haven't really incorporated them to what I'm doing now. So my setup and my flow is much simpler for the moment, but I also want to kind of evolve past that and get more complex with it, because, I basically work with different producers, some that I know directly, others that I've just met, online using different websites to search for the type of feel I'm looking for. And I'll listen to hundreds of beats and then narrow it down, and then, start writing to it. If it feels like, yeah, this is something I want to do, then I purchase the beat, I get all the stems and everything. And so the producers, whoever I'm collaborating with, will then make it be the final product, like what you did for our song. But I would definitely love to have more control, I guess you could say, and more ability to manipulate it and not make it just be like the beat right as it was off the shelf, kind of more complex than that. So I look forward to, picking up those skills and learning from you guys, man. It's going to be super fun. And yeah, Taxation is Theft has been fun for me. I'm excited to play that one because I do think more people are learning about that song. And obviously we both feel strongly about the message. And of course it was just fun to put it together and to be in the UK, like where we were in like Avesbury with all these giant stones and just getting to film the video. Yeah, it was super cool.
Yeah, definitely. And along the notes of like all the looping stuff, I'm really eager to start teaching my knowledge of the looping stuff as well to other people, because I feel like over the years and years of trial and error, I've been able to synthesize information, and I want to make it more accessible for people because it's one of the most fun things in the entire world to just be able to build a beat from scratch on the fly. And so currently one of the things I'm working on is I got into the autonomy course. Richard Grove was kind enough to give me a scholarship to autonomy, which I'm super grateful for. And, that a lot of what they teach there is how you can, make a living, an honest living doing what you love, and then sharing that with other people and sharing how you have learned the knowledge that you've learned. So I'm definitely working towards kind of a course or some kind of a mentorship where I can help to pass on that knowledge to other people. And I'm definitely keen. And anytime anybody asks me, like, I'm always down to just nerd out with someone for 2 hours. And I know Benji's the same way. When we were in the UK, he invited us up to his hotel room and we just nerded out for like 2 hours over his whole setup. So yeah, that spirit of
That's
teaching
awesome.
and passing on the knowledge, I think, is really important, because we want to have as many people spreading the knowledge as possible. We want everybody's unique voice to be able to express fully the truth or at least their truth, their authentic, expression. And the more people we can empower to do that, the better. And I think that's kind of one of the themes and the threads of this tour, is that idea. So
yeah, absolutely. Hey, by the way, I know you did this last time whenever we did the interview. Are you already set up to perform, like right now?
I'm not, dude, because
Okay.
I'm, like I said before when we were off camera, my whole studio is all ripped apart right now because I'm working on a rebuild with a new desk.
No worries. I was just gonna say, well, shoot, dude, if you're set up, let's run through something.
Yeah.
But we'll have to wait for that in person. Cool. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm stoked, man, because I'm working my butt off to just have my set perfect. Again, everybody, if you're just tuning in, 33 Prezence DubFX, we're going on tour across the US. It's a short tour. It's only 5 dates. I've definitely seen people asking for more dates and more cities, and that would be super cool to do something in the future. And of course, you two are going to be going to Canada for some dates out there. But if you're interested, the best place, again, is to go to dubfx.com. The flyer's also at my website, 33ishere.com. And then, of course, go to presencemusic.com to get plugged in with his music and everything there. Salt Lake City, Denver, New Mexico, Portland, Seattle, and it's gonna be a great time. I've been working hard to not only just to kind of fine tune and perfect my set of things that I already have, but I do think that there might be a new song that WFX and I might be performing. I know you guys are working on some as well. And then I think our sister Elias Clay is trying to get into some of the shows, maybe at Rise and Vibe. So there's going to be a lot of collaboration going on for sure. And I'm just excited about that aspect of being able to do new things. And then, like I was kind of sharing earlier, I'm excited about just sharing my message and my particular style and way of sharing these ideas that we all do in our own individual ways with WFX's audience, with the kind of people who are going to be attracted and know who he is and coming to these cities because they know who he is. They've never heard of me. Maybe they've heard of you. Maybe they've never heard of you either, but they're going to be there. And so they're going to get exposed to what we're doing. And that's exciting to me because I've always enjoyed that as like somebody attending shows and going to shows, getting to hear the opening bands. Like maybe you're there for the headliner, but then you discover some really awesome other artists or bands who are opening up the set. And I'm hoping that that's something that I get to do personally is, introduce myself to people and to the world of what I do and share the music that I've been working on. So super stoked for just getting out there in front of some new minds and some new hearts and sharing these ideas. It's going to be, I think for me, even if this is just like the one and done only tour, which I don't anticipate, is definitely going to be like dreams coming true type vibes for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally think that, your music is amazing. And I love the way that you share your rawness and your authenticity and your passion for what you believe in through your music too. And I'm excited for more people to get to experience that and witness that. So yeah, so we have some good comments coming in here. Tig said, to understand the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Quote from Tesla, to understand the innerverse, feel in terms of peace, gratitude, and joy. Thank you for that comment. That's a good one. And one other thing, I wanted to talk a little bit about Rise and Vibes as well, because this will be my third year performing at Rise and Vibes, and I want to give a huge shout out to that festival. That was one of the first festivals that I've been able to play on a main stage kind of slot. And now this will be my third year coming back. So I'm just really stoked to be there. The headliners are absolutely insane for Rise and Vibes. I'm just going to pull it up. Music festival really quick here.
Here, I'll show it on screen too.
Oh yeah, that'd be great if you can show it. But I mean, the lineup is absolutely stacked. If you're into reggae music or you're into conscious music at all, the Movement's going to be there. Protege, who's literally one of my biggest inspirations musically. Rising Appalachia, Dirt Wire, the original Wailers, Dub Effects, obviously. Aurora Wave, which is kind of like the evolution of a band that I used to be really into. Arise Roots, Natalie Rise. I mean, it's just stacked. Lily Fangs is incredible out of Colorado. So yeah, it's just going to be insane. So I'm really excited for that festival. And Derek, you're going to be doing a workshop there, right?
Yeah, so that's going to be kind of cool because I will be, we're going to get to do taxation and stuff during your set, which I'm super stoked and appreciate you giving, me a little time in your set for us to do that. But I will be there, doing a workshop, sort of some of my other work. It's called, I can't remember what it's called, something about exit and build for those who know my work and trying to get people to think about getting outside of systems, building parallel systems. I will be doing a workshop there. And of course, my partner Miriam's going to be there doing some live painting, which will be cool as well. So we'll be hanging out throughout the festival, of course, jamming out with Dub Effects. I think I'm going to jump on stage with him and do a song then too. We'll see if that happens. And yeah, it's just going to be another really cool event because you mentioned some of the people in the lineup, like Natalie Rise is another artist that I've listened to for years that I got to interview back in 2013 or 2014. And she performed at the Texas People's Reset maybe 2-3 years ago. And we're hoping to bring her down to Mexico very soon. So that'll be cool. And actually, I was talking to Dub Effects about that the two of them have never performed together. So this is going to be like the first event where they're together. And I just, feel like those are two people who need to get connected and that I hope to. Miriam has a dream of bringing Dub Effects, Mike Love, and Natalie Rise to perform at the People's Reset for the first time together.
Yeah, let's go. That would be incredible. Yeah. And yeah, if you've never seen Protege, and so Bruce, who actually got me connected to this festival originally, a good friend of ours, Bruce and I went out to Jamaica a couple of years ago. That's where I shot the video for my song Change Ourselves. But when we were there, we got to actually see Protege's festival, and we saw Tippy. Tippy I is one of the man. He's like an OG producer of reggae music, and he's worked with everyone from like Protege to Midnight to Pressure Busspipe. Like he's literally worked with everyone. And what I really love about Tippy I is that he, instead of just DJing, like pressing play on a, whatever, pressing play on a deck, he literally takes all of the stems from all of these original productions and he live mixes them on the fly. And that's really where I took a lot of inspiration for my setup. And I know DubFX also mixes stems. He's not actually just, taking the finished master recording of his song and just playing it, pressing one button and playing it and singing over the top. He's actually mixing all of the individual layers, adding different effects to them as he sings over the top. And that's also what I do with my setup. And I originally, when I saw Tippy for the first time performing down in Kingston, I was just blown away by his mastery of the technology and the way that he's able to, add in all of these different effects and do all of this live mixing and dubbing. So I would highly encourage, if you are going to be at Rise and Vibes, check him out. It's going to be amazing. So
sweet. Yeah, I look forward to checking out some new artists. That's what I love about big festivals like that is like, there's some people, there's some new people to discover. This will be my first time going there. And like I said, I'm excited about the workshop and to see Miriam out there and to jump on that stage too. So again, riseandvibes.com, that'll be the third stop on this tour we're doing, the Southwest US and Pacific Northwest. So if you want to come check that out and get a lot more artists than just the three of us, that's the place to go check it out.
Yeah.
Well, I got an idea, brother, while we wait for DubFX to show up. I just uploaded one of our songs, my song Unwritten, up here. So maybe we can play Unwritten.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. All right, everybody. We're talking about this tour that myself, 33, Prezence, and DubFX are going to be doing starting at the end of May and in mid-June. Check out the dates and the details at dubfx.com. We're going to take a quick break, play a music video that we did. We kind of did this one separately. We did some of it at the People's Reset, which actually I'm surprised we were even able to get anything from there after you losing your camera and everything and just all that. But it turned out really great. And then of course you're performing in your studio and some of the cuts. And this song is just something I put together, and I was so just thrilled to have you part of it, brother, because the message is just that we're still riding the future. There's so much black pilling, there's so much doom, and there's also really good reasons to be concerned about the future. But at the end of the day, we're still the ones deciding where that goes. So check this out, guys. This is Unwritten.
I can't believe this is my life and I'm on top. I had to hit rock bottom and I didn't stop. Fell through the floor, crashed to the depths of hell. Made so many mistakes, but my soul ain't for sale. Forgive myself, forgive those who crossed me. Not like I'm keeping score, but I keep coming up empty. There's a big world out here, waiting to be discovered. There's so many hidden truths, waiting to be uncovered. There's no going back, the future's unwritten. We can keep trying, but there's no use preventing. Creator has a plan, and I'm ready to embrace my destiny in this journey through time and space. There's no going back, the future's unwritten. You can keep trying, but there's no use preventing. Creator has a plan, and it's time to embrace your destiny in this journey through time and space. You ever feel like you got a bigger mission to fulfill? There's too much to do, can't get caught sitting still. I know I'm meant to be more than a cog in the machine. Not sure where I'm headed, but I'm more than I seem. They say the grass ain't always greener, but I gotta find out. Get to the other side so I can erase my doubt. I'm tuned into my purpose, no more feeling worthless. No more wasting time, asking if I deserve this. This is my moment to show my full potential. This is my one shot, so I'm done being sinful. I feel nothing but gratitude, just anticipating. I know I can take on anything I'm facing. There's no going back, the future's unwritten. We can keep trying, but there's no use preventing. Creator has a plan, and I'm ready to embrace my destiny in this journey through time and space. There's no going back, the future's unwritten. You can keep trying, but there's no use preventing. Creator has a plan, and it's time to embrace your destiny in this journey through time and space.
you ever feel like you're capable of more? Saw a vision that you making same decisions before. Feeling like a couple version of yourself a reward. The one that's complacent and the one that's awake in the soul. Yeah, highest priority life force. Only giving my body what it was designed for. Higher dimensional consciousness, I know I got to explore. Higher priority is a inner peace I got to restore. But the bullshit on the mission, from the fear point to the fake news. But the clickbait for the most views, gonna distract from the real you. Gotta break the cycle of attachment addiction. Tell the story now of it remains unwritten.
There's no going back, the future's unwritten. We can keep trying, but there's no use preventing. Creator has a plan, and I'm ready to embrace my destiny in the journey through time and space. There's no going back, the future's unwritten. You can keep trying, but there's no use preventing. Creator has a plan, and it's time to embrace your destiny in this journey through time and space. I stand for the 7 generations, original First Nations. Call unto your ancestors and ask for patience. Can't stop climbing in the face of these obstacles. The truth's within each of us like the Gnostic Gospels. And yes, it's true that time is running low, but we determine our future with the seeds we sow. So let's keep building the world of our dreams as we watch Babylon come apart at the seams. 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 Watch Babylon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that track, brother. Thanks for having me on that one. We did the
Dude.
best we could on that video with what we had. It turned out pretty good, I'd say, considering what we had to work with. So
I love the video, man. I love what you did there. And yeah, I think that you elevate the song. I mean, you've elevated every track that you're on. So it was great to have you on there. And I'll just throw a little bit of behind the scenes trivia. So if you look closely during the video, yes, I am missing a tooth because literally the day before we recorded this, my front left tooth crumbles when I'm eating the thinnest slice of pizza you've ever seen at the People's Reset. My tooth just falls apart. And of course, we're in the middle of the event and stuff going on. I didn't get to the dentist till like a few days after the event, and everything's all good now. But yes, I was super self-conscious of doing it, but it's like, we got to get this damn video done. Screw it. I'm just going to do it.
I like it. It's like you got like the pirate vibe going on.
So yeah, that was a fun experience though.
I was going to ask you if you used a tool to add the captions, because I'm always manually adding the captions on my videos and it's so time consuming. I was going to see if there was something you used for that.
I did. There's one AI tool that I used, because I do use a few to supplement some of my work, called Descript. Let me see. Yeah, Descript.com. And you can, I mainly use it because it's helpful for like transcribing videos, but then obviously once it transcribes them, you can do captions and subtitles and all that. And yeah, it's so I use that here and there for some things. And I figured with that song particularly, I want people to hear the message. I want them to hear the lyrics and to understand them. Like you were saying before, sometimes we're like, you know, there's music, everything's going on, people are just enjoying it. And then especially if you're singing or rapping really fast, which you do, and sometimes I do as well, then it's like, all right, did everybody get those words? But I think it's always been super important for me to, we got the brother here. It's always been important for me to have let people know my lyrics. Like back in the day, even when I was doing a metal band, I would print out my lyrics and I would put them on the stage and say, hey, like, I'm going to be screaming and growling. You're not going to understand much of what I say, but if you want to understand it, here's the lyrics. So
nice.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up?
Good. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Sweet. Let me just turn off my speakers. Sorry about it, guys. Mate, crazy shit happened today, I gotta say.
We were just talking about that. You had a European blackout, huh?
It was insane. Can you guys talk just for one sec? Just me.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just talking about lyrics, man, and how we just actually played while we were waiting for you. We've been chatting it up. We just played the video Grant and I did for Unwritten right now for everybody while we were waiting for you. And just chatting about that. But thanks for making time to join us, brother. We've been talking all about the tour and where we're going and Rising Vibes and everything else. So everybody, again, coming to the US tour.
It's pretty glitchy. Like
Oh, I see
It's
it.
super glitchy. Like I can't tell whether you're working, like it keeps and all this stuff. But we'll do our best on under the circumstances. I think it's just the internet in Portugal right now is like one leg. Like it's all just come online now. It's crazy. You know, it was a freaky day. All I'm gonna say is that. I know what you guys been up to. Sorry, but I'm just out of.
Is he coming through for you, Grant, or is it choppy for you too?
It's pretty choppy.
Yeah, it's breaking up for us, or at least on my end, pretty bad. I got most of what you said though.
Damn.
Well,
Can I check it in now?
maybe you can try to rejoin real quick, but yeah, because I can hear you, but every other word or so.
Yeah,
He's super bit crushed out.
What a perfect day for us to record this. The day all the power goes out across Europe. Well, actually, in the meantime, too, yeah, he said super glitchy for him as well. Well, maybe we can get that figured out. Actually, one other video that I did have pulled up, every week when I do my live podcast, I always end with a music video. I've played a lot of both y'all's music on there, and of course, Elias. I actually have a video from Sahida pulled up as well that she did with Elias for the song Energy Ball that they just released recently. So maybe we'll play that in just a few minutes. But yeah, if you want to go ahead, brother, and try to rejoin, we'll see if that fixes it, and we'll be here. But yeah, man, I mean, how do you feel about that, about what the lyrics, you were kind of touching on this earlier, like, you know, that maybe not everybody's getting all the lyrics, but you're still kind of planting seeds. But beyond that, I'm assuming it's important to you that they, you know, at some point, you know, some people do check out the lyrics because obviously we put a lot of time and effort into them and thought into them.
Yeah. I don't oftentimes see artists putting their lyrics up on their website for whatever reason. And I saw one of my favorite female artists, Jaw9, she put all of her lyrics up on her website. Like she has a nice page where you can get all the lyrics. And I was like, oh, that's sweet. That's a great idea. So I actually have done that. If anybody is interested in checking out my lyrics, I have a whole lyrics page on my website where you can see all the lyrics for Taxation is Theft and any of my songs that I've released. And I do also kind of, you know, try to get the lyrics to show up on Spotify with the synced lyrics. So when people are listening on Spotify, they can see the synced lyrics. Unfortunately, now they're putting paywalls behind all that stuff just to make it. It's like, come on, just like let the artist, you know, the artist is already paying to release their music. Like just let the artist put their lyrics up, but then everything has like another paywall behind it, of course. But yeah, to get to your point, I think it is important for me that people understand the lyrics, and even if they don't want to, I'm still stoked for people to just resonate with the physical frequencies and the musical frequencies regardless. But yeah.
All right, let's see if this will work now. We got our brother back here. Any better now?
Maybe it's sort of glitching. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to my 5G on my phone, and hopefully that works. It only just come back online.
It seems solid
a lot
now.
better. It's a lot better right now. Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, then maybe I'll just leave it, and if I have another issue with it, then I'll just try that. Because
sweet.
Mate, yeah. Sorry, Cat, fill me in on what you guys been up to, because it's like all I got before was.
We've been chatting for like 35 minutes, brother. I was saying we've been talking all about the tour, telling everybody about the dates, telling everybody about Rise and Vibes, and encouraging them to get tickets. We just played the video for our song Unwritten to share that one, and and we just were showing our love and appreciation for you as well. And I had a couple of things I wanted to get you to share. So why don't we just dive into that since you're just getting here, man. I wanted you to share more with everybody about what it means. You got this really, I think, powerful message on the front of dubfx.com talking about the Open Secret Society tour. Mm-hmm. Maybe you could just share what that means. I mean, I could just read it, but I think it's better hearing it from you.
Well, look, it all comes back to like sort of, I mean, I feel like I'm in the presence of other conspiracy theorists, you know what I mean? So like, I don't need to really, but I feel like, you know, the big thing that I've come to realize a lot in the last, 5 years of my career is how secret societies basically run the music. I mean, it's all kind of just coming out even more now with like the Diddy stuff and Epstein Island, and like, there's so many different forms of variations of secret societies out there. And I'm sure you probably know more about it than I do. In fact, I'm sure you probably do, especially with your name 33. I mean, it's like, you know into symbology and all that stuff. But I've just come to this realization that, like, it's really difficult, like, when you're on the outside of that stuff, because I know who's in it, and I know it's really easy to tell that sort of stuff, especially in the music industry, and especially if you look at people's Instagram accounts. And I just figured, you know what, like, I'm just gonna, like, I was just joking around with Mikey. I was like, you know what we should do? We should start a secret society, but like where everyone can be in it. And he was like, yeah, like an open secret society. I was like, that's amazing. That's genius. And that was the conversation. And then we were talking about kicking around ideas of what to call the album. I was like, that just stuck with me. I was like, Open Secret Society. I was like, man, there's something about that. Like, why don't we just do that? And then I was like, it started off more of as a joke, where I was like, like, everyone's already in the secret society, but they just don't realize it yet. You know what I mean? And like, and all this sort of stuff. And that's kind of what it is. That's what our sort of movement is all about. Like, it's really interesting. Like, and this is the idea of the third IQ. By the way, if I come across frazzled, it's because I am. It's been a day.
All good, man.
Yeah, it's been a weird day. It's like I can breathe again. But I was like, anyway, we'll get into that later if you want. But anyway, the point is, I just like the people in our genre of conscious music who are trying to push the positive agenda and like the connectedness agenda. We're not really united, not because we don't want to be, but just because it's like there is no sort of record label and industry that is put in place to support us. You know what I mean? Except for people like yourself, Derek, who's like putting on these events, like, the People's Reset and all that sort of stuff. But other than that, like, coming together, I just know friends of mine who are into it that I've known for a long time. And I don't really know other artists. I know about other artists, but then again, I never know who's real and who's not real. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you meet people and their lyrics seem like they're really, switched on. And then you have a conversation with them like, ooh, this guy doesn't, there's something weird going on. Like, I feel like, there are people out there that like maybe faking it just because they want to get attention and stuff. So I don't know, like, I just thought, let's just try. Let's just see what happens. Let's put this thing out there into the universe, this Open Secret Society, and see, like, let's try and create a movement around it. But it's like, it's just started. It's like the name of the record. And like, the idea is like, all the people who already listen to my music are already in that club, because otherwise, that's how they know about me. And also people that listen to you guys as well and come to your things. I feel like there is such a huge community that's just not connected. And that's what definitely you're doing, Derek, but also that's what I feel like I want to do through this record label, Third IQ. And then the album Open Secret Society is going to talk all about that essentially in the record.
I love it, man. I want to share this is the one thing that you have on the website. It says it's the launch of Open Secret Society, a movement built on transparency, unity, and the idea that music can expand minds and challenge the status quo. Unlike the secret societies holding humanity back, this community is about openness and genuine connection. And then the last line you say, if you're a music lover craving authentic art and feeling disillusioned by the shallow offerings of mainstream culture, know that you're not alone. You're a part of a growing movement. And now's the time to come together in our mission to heal society from the influence of the old guard. By attending our gatherings, you actively contribute to a ripple effect that spreads light and positive energy.
I was so high when I wrote that, and it's even cooler. It sounds better now that I'm not high. Actually, I'm like, ooh, I nailed that.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to add to that.
Yeah.
I feel like with your music, with all of our music, it's about like sharing occult knowledge, and that's what the secret societies have always been about, is trying to maintain a power differential over the slave class by hiding the occult knowledge and keeping it only for themselves. And so by creating this open secret society, it's like, hey, look, we're already sharing. There's already lots of people who are sharing the occult knowledge of how we can bring this to our lives and expand consciousness in a real way, and opening that up to anyone to be a part of it. So
absolutely. And also, I've always liked this idea of, I've always wanted to be in a cult that doesn't have a leader, if you know what I mean, because the idea of cults like are cool in a way that it's like a community that everyone wants to work towards this thing. I just hate that there's always some dude at the top trying to fuck everyone's messes. And that just is, it doesn't, I know that's a bit of a harsh way of putting it all, but that ends up what happening. Like my dad's in a cult, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that happened at his cult. So it always ends up being the way. But anyway, sorry.
You know what it reminded me of though? It reminds me of like, I've had some activist friends over the years who've, really spent a lot of time studying the they, them, the Bilderberg group, the, like you said, secret societies, whatever group you want to name. And in the sense of trying to understand why they're so successful. And one of the things is that they are highly organized, where, like you said, we're like we've got these movements, but maybe we're not all connected. And that's why I love what you're doing, because I started coming at it from more as an activist and then moving into music. And I think your music, at least in my mind, is your form of activism, or one of them. And, bringing that together, like with more of the activists and the musicians working together, we're more effective. But I've had friends say for years, like, we need to start an Illuminati or Bilderberg group, but of the freedom-minded people, in terms of using those same strategies of being organized, working together. I mean, that was kind of the whole idea too, with even the People's Reset, is like, all right, well, if those groups want to meet every year, we're going to get together once a year and talk about solutions, and then have a bunch of fun and, talk about ways we can better the world and everything like that. So it kind of, to me, it all just goes together. It's like taking their ideas, using them, and then, like you said, having this open movement that anybody can be a part of. It's really important, for sure.
Totally. And and no one's in charge of it. That's the kind of the point I was coming to before. Like, I feel like where everyone brings the game, and like they do their thing, and like, mine is doing my music, Presence, you too, but 33, you do yours music, but you're also an amazing organizer and talker as well. And I think, like, everyone just can shine doing what they do best. Like, I'm not great at doing these podcast talky things. I'm good at producing music and writing lyrics and singing on stage, but like, I'm not a great like communicator like you guys are at like doing this sort of stuff. I always feel a bit weird doing it. I want to get better at it, but like, at the end of the day, I'm just do what we do best, and add to it as much as we can. That's my feels. I can't wait to come on tour with you guys, man. It's going to be wicked. It's going to be awesome. Like, yeah, I'm looking
road trip.
I really wish Zahida could come. Like, I was chatting with her before, and, it's basically only because of everything that started happening lately with people getting knocked back, and we don't want to rock up with our kids and have something happen. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, we want to avoid any kind of nonsense. So once I come out and everything's fine, maybe she'll come out next time, but we're just gonna play it low key this time around, unfortunately.
Can we just dig into that for a second, brother? Like, what you mean, if I understand, I think I know what you mean, but just in case anybody doesn't really grab what he's saying there, is that, and without us derailing the whole conversation, that there's crazy things going on in the US. There's people being taken away, rounded up, and for their opinions on Israel or for whatever their status may be. Yeah. And I've definitely seen you at some shows holding up a Palestinian flag and things like that. And there are realistic concerns as the US is going in a certain direction. Like, I'm from the US, but I don't live there anymore, but I'll be coming back to the US for the first time since the election for this tour. And I was saying to Grant earlier, it's like, all right, I kind of have not concerns, but just like super aware of like, hopefully everything's smooth across the border as it has always been. But yeah, just for those who don't kind of grasp that, to the audience in here who's not outside of the US and who's just used to what's going on there's people who are now afraid and don't want to come to the US because of what's happening.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people getting knocked back. I mean, there's a lot of people getting like disappearing as well. Like, there was people coming even just from Canada going in, or some chick who there was some mistake to do with her visa or whatever, and she was in a cell for like 2 weeks. They didn't explain anything to her.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know about that, but that's one example.
Yeah. As somebody who lives in the States, I think one of the biggest things that we're dealing with is extreme tyranny by the police state. There's quite a police state. And I feel like over the years, I've learned how to adjust my frequency so that I don't really attract any of those kind of situations on a minimal level. And there are still a lot of people who are having their rights violated on a daily basis by mainly the cops out here in the US. And it's worse in big cities and stuff like that. And I don't say that to put anybody in a state of fear or anything like that. I think that, I'm holding down the fort, as in Derek's terminology, using the term holding down the fort as like, I'm staying here in the US with the intention of, doing my best to continue living a conscious life here and not letting that stuff scare me off to another place. But I also completely understand the exit and build modality too, of like, oh, we should get out of the US because it's a police state.
Yeah, but where do you go anyway, man? Like, I mean, Mexico was pretty nice. I like that when I was there. But in Europe, I came to Portugal for the same reason. I was basically like exiting from Australia because of the pandemic. And I was like, I could just tell the way people were reacting to everything and all the nonsense and all the lies. And I could see through it right from the get go. I mean, there was probably a little bit at the beginning where I was a bit like, oh, this might be a real thing. But then very quickly, I was like, nah, this doesn't add up. It's all bullshit. And the people around me were like, no, what are you talking about? This is what's happening. And it's like, how can you not see through the bullshit? Like, and so that's why we got out and we came to Portugal. And Portugal's good. It's just that it's become so expensive. Like, it's barely, like, we can't even really afford to live here anymore. So, and all the billionaires have moved here and it's become weird. So we're going to Spain next. But, you know, I don't know. Like, I'm realizing more and more, you want your community, all your people, you want to have like, especially after today, what happened today was just so weird, man. Like, you got
you want to talk a little bit about that?
I mean, put it this way. I woke up this morning. I got my kids ready for school. Everything was normal. I dropped them off at school. Everything's fine. Normal day. I only had like 4 or 5 hours sleep because like I was up late last night doing a whole bunch of stuff. And I had to get up at 6:30 a.m. So I was just like, So I went home and I just was like, I did a workout and then I went and had a nap at about 10:30. And then I woke up at midday, I think it was. And I was like, I went to have a cup of tea or whatever. And the kettle's not working. I'm like, that's weird. So I go to the switchboard and I'm like, oh, the switchboard's fine. I'm like, okay, that's weird. I'm like, I open the door and like the lights in my apartment block or like in the flat, like I live in an apartment and in the stairwell, all the lights were off and that's not normal. I'm like, okay, that's weird. And I'm like, what's going on? And then a friend of mine had just told me, or like it just told my wife actually, that they were planning a huge sort of essentially like a grid failure for the end of April. Someone had just told me this like a week or two.
They're planning it?
Yeah. Well, that's what and she was stockpiling and she was telling my wife that she's stockpiling all this shit and getting ready and prepping for essentially like some crazy sort of outage or something. And we were like, oh, that's a bit weird, whatever. Anyway, it's the end of April and I'm like, I look out the window and the traffic lights are off and there's cars like beeping at each other. And I was like, oh shit, this is weird. And the next thing I see our sort of this cleaning lady, she comes up, she's like our nanny cleaning lady. She's been working with us for years. And she comes up the stairs and she's like, there are people in the subway and they can't get out. It's like the train carriages have shut, like it stopped and there's people stuck in them. And she's like, it's all across Europe. And I'm like, oh shit, here we go. Like it's all across Europe. Like that's what we get. That's the information we're getting told. Apparently it was. I actually don't even know. All that's happened literally since is the lights came on and then my phone rang and it was you, Grant. And I was like, oh shit, I got to do that thing. And now I'm here. So I haven't even Googled anything to figure out. Maybe you guys know more about it than I do.
I saw it this morning. It's been Spain and Portugal mainly. I think some other places, but it's mainly been Spain and Portugal. So yeah, directly to where you're at.
Right. We were getting told that it's Spain, Portugal, Italy, it's reached Germany. And they were like, what the hell? And I was like, this sounds like, because I don't know if you guys saw this clip that Candace Owens put out, I don't know, like 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. And she said that the World Economic Forum, the ones that when they set up the event 201, they're doing another one based on power grid failure.
Yeah, exactly.
They're planning one and that's going to be the next pandemic is going to be power grid failure. And so I was just like, oh shit, have they already done it? Like I thought they hadn't done the event yet. It's like, are they going to actually, they went straight into the pandemic? That's where my brain was at. And then I'm start thinking like, oh shit. So I don't have any cash. Everything is in my bloody phone. I'm like, we just got back from a trip to Italy to visit my mom. So there's nothing in the fridge. I'm just like, fuck, what do we do? So I'm like tripping, like now my heart's starting to go race a little bit. And I'm like, babe, like, let's go and get groceries and then go pick the kids up from school and just get them out of school right now. Cause we're not WhatsApp, nothing, no communications, nothing's working at all. You know what I mean? So like I went out and it was like pure chaos, like in the street, like the traffic jams everywhere. All these people like were out in the buildings, just walking around, looking around. It was so weird. And then we went to this market, stocked up on a bunch of food and stuff, brought it all home, got on our bikes, went down to pick up the kids from school. Everyone was like tripping and freaking out. Just like, oh, is this the end? Is this what's going to happen? Like, it was like so weird because we don't know what's happening in the outside world, right? And then take the kids back home. And then I went out, I found an ATM machine that was dispensing some cash. So I withdrew like $2,000 just because I was like, well, if we need this money to get across, like I thought maybe we're going to have to drive to Italy where my mum lives there and I've got loads of friends. And I was thinking in my head, where's the closest place that I know of where I've actually got community where if shit does go down for a month or whatever, like if this is a pandemic, like what Candace Owen was saying they're going to do, then maybe where are we going to do this? And so I was like, all right, we'll have to drive to Italy. And that's like a 2-day drive nonstop. I'm like, or like 2 days with stops, I think. Anyway, so I'm like, all right, withdraw cash so I can at least somehow get some petrol or something while I'm doing it. So this is going through my brain. I get the stuff, I come home, and then on the way back, I realized that like everyone was out like at the parks and like the kids at the parks. I was like, you know what, let's just take the kids out to the park. So I got home. I sort of calmed everyone down because everyone was kind of freaking out at home. I was like, let's just go for a walk and just see what's going on. Take the dog for a walk. So we went for a walk. And I tell you what, all of a sudden, everything kind of relaxed, like everyone, I don't know what, because I couldn't tell what was happening. Apparently the radio was telling people that certain parts of Spain were coming back online. So a lot of people were sort of like, it's going to come back. It's going to come back. But it was amazing because then for the next, like, I feel like I kind of was able to relax. So I had my cash. And also that was the other thing that was really tripping me out. Saeed is asthmatic and like puffers. I went to the pharmacy and I bought like 4 puffers for her because I was like, that's like my nightmare is that she has an asthma attack and dies. I've had a friend died of asthma when I was in high school. So that's like living with that was tripping me out as well. There's a lot of stuff racing through my brain. Anyway, we went for a walk and we went to this park and it was the coolest thing. I haven't seen so many people not on their phones in so long. Like there was just, everyone was out.
Did we lose him?
I think he froze for a second. Let's see if he comes back.
Here we are.
Okay, cool.
Anyway,
that sounds intense.
Yeah, it was super intense. But what I was going to say was the last part was the craziest part was there was this amazing moment when we walked through the park and nobody was on their phones, right? Because there's no internet, there's no nothing. And like everyone was playing cards and just like playing music. And I was like with their guitars out. And it was like, there was this moment where, then I was we were walking through the city. The traffic lights weren't working, but everyone was driving and it was moving. And I was like, wow, this is actually really nice. Like not having phones. And it just felt, I was like, wow, so that was like, we came.
Think it was breaking up a little bit there, or was that me?
A lot of it.
A lot of it. Okay, I was gonna say, dude, I can understand why he would be frazzled after thinking that maybe this was like the next big exercise and everything shutting down.
Well, I think his point was that, like, after everybody kind of got over the initial fear, everyone was, off their technology and stuff and just going about their day, just hanging out, realizing that it wasn't the end of the world. And that's one of the things I think is interesting. Daryl commented again, the documentary EMF determined that if the power grid goes down in the United States for 9 months, 90% of the US population will perish. Part of me does see that side of things where it's like, yeah, if we did lose the power grid, every single thing that we do is tied to electricity, and most people are dependent on centralized electricity and stuff like that, and centralized food and all that. So there is definitely a real possibility that there could be a really bad situation. But at the same time, on the other side of the coin, I think it's what Benji was saying when he started cutting out is like, what happens if people just realize that all the technology doesn't have to rule our lives and we can just still go about our day, have a great time. Everybody's having a great time out in the sun, in the park, playing guitar. You can talk with your neighbor, figure out how to get the resources you need. You can trade, barter, figure it out as a community. And then all of a sudden now we're, being forced to build stronger communities, which is what basically Derek has been encouraging people to do all along, is like, how do we build stronger communities. So if something does happen, we're already ready for that kind of situation. But that's scary situation, and I think we have him back.
I think we do have him back. It came to my mind. I was thinking like that would have been the perfect time, brother, for you to set up in the park and just start jamming. Everybody's already set up outside, and just for you guys to start getting down.
I was talking about it with wifey. We said, well, we're gonna have to figure out when I couldn't find ATMs at first because like all the ATMs weren't working. You see, when I first went around, and so I was like, oh shit, what are we gonna do for money? And then I was like, maybe we should just go busking. You know what I mean? Like that's what we'll do. So. But then I
always got that in your back pocket. Benji's always got the buskin in the back pocket. If push comes to shove, he'll be fine.
I was already seeing in my mind. I was like, if we have to make a run out of here and go find some communities and somehow get let into some community who's already got an off-grid situation, like, what are we going to say? Like, we're going to be like, oh, I can make music for you guys. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, but then I was like, but, you know, I can do other stuff. I can build stuff. But I was really started like checking in on myself. Like, holy shit. Like, I really need to be, we should have some kind of exit strategy for this. You know what I mean? We need a go bag. We need
straight up.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's kind of something. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say that this is why the other side of my music is focused on that, because whether it's, you know, I always said to people like, look, it doesn't have to be the government rounding everybody up or the end of the world. It can just be the power goes out. Like we had that happen in Texas where I'm originally from. Hurricanes hit all the time. So people get used to sort of like the power's going to go out. The government's not going to do much. And so some people plan ahead and they've got hurricane supplies or whatever. Other people are out there kind of trying to rescue and help people who you can. But in general, without even thinking about it, like, oh, I'm a doomsday prepper, that sort of thing, which I think is propaganda. They get people to believe only crazy people like that are the kind of people thinking ahead and thinking of the future. But in reality, all of our ancestors got this far by thinking ahead of like the next winter. Like if you didn't plan for the winter when all the grass died, then the cows didn't get fed, if you didn't bale hay and stuff like that. So it's normal for us to think ahead in case of an emergency, but we don't really do that really in our kind of modern times. But I definitely think it's a good idea to like have an emergency bag for something, whether that's because no matter where you live, there's wildfires, there's hurricanes, there's tornadoes, there's snowstorms, there's blizzards, there's, and then there's random shit like power outages that go out. And it could be the World Economic Forum and others testing the grid for what you were talking about, Doug, like as far as them preparing for things. That's definitely been a long discussion about cyber attacks and stuff like that, like having things like that. So whatever it is, though, it's just a general good idea to have some kind of plan in place, for what's the move if something goes down. Like you said, all right, we're going to grab the bag, load up the money, and head out to the next city, town, or country. I think those are wise strategies. And then, of course, like knowing that these systems, they're unsustainable. And I think that's by design, that these people want to crash them. That's why, like, what I think we're trying to do with the music and through activism and other things is really trying to empower people and help them see that the government's not going to be there to save them whenever shit goes down, and that they can't count on those people. And they definitely can't count on the hidden secret societies and the other, people behind the scenes trying to manipulate our world.
I mean, I don't even think the secret society can trust themselves, to be honest. Like, I reckon they all I mean, do you know much about that stuff, like Freemasons and all that sort of? I mean, I think I know, but then, like, I don't have a fucking clue at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like,
I have been down this rabbit hole for the last 2 months.
I'm about to release the end all be all documentary series on that exact topic. So
who is you are
Derek? He's about to have the end all be all docu series.
So I don't know if I told you about this, Benji, but so I have a documentary series. It's a 17 part documentary series. All 16 episodes are out already at thepyramidofpower.net, and it's basically about answering this question. It starts off super simple of like, okay, the education system, the media, big tech, and it progressively gets deeper and more quote unquote conspiratorial. So we've released all those 16 episodes over the last 5 years. And right now I'm writing the script for the final episode, which is trying to answer who's at the top of the pyramid. And kind of like you were saying, like I read a bunch of stuff when I first woke up. I watched videos and all that sort of stuff. But I think maybe when you're first kind of waking up and you're panicking, we might be more prone to believing and accepting things that later we realize aren't as accurate as we thought,
Sure.
And at least that's kind of been my journey. So I just decided with this, I'm going to go revisit all my old research plus a bunch of new stuff. and I've been looking at the Masons, the Committee of 300, the Jesuits. Am I echoing? Did you guys hear that?
No, you're good. It's something about Rome. Was it like the Rome something?
Well, the Club of Rome is one of those. So, I mean, and to me, those are all kind of lower level. Honestly, those are what they call the roundtable groups. You got the World Economic Forum, you got Club of Rome, you got the Bilderberg Group. They're definitely representatives, but they're still, I would say, upper middle management, right? And then there's all kinds of theories of people who are like, it's the Jews, because obviously Zionists have a lot of influence, and Zionists, manipulate the US government and the bankers and all this kind of stuff. And there's people who say it's the Jesuits. There's people who say it's the Freemasons. So yeah, for the last 2 months, I've been spending time reading books from the 1700s, 1800s, going back to like the origins of these conspiracies. And, yeah, somebody's saying there is an echo.
Yo, Benji, are your monitors muted? It sounds like there's a...
Say something?
Yo, check.
Yeah, no, like my monitors are all muted. It's just my headphones are on.
Check. I think it's gone now, whatever it was. Yeah. But yeah, so I've just been spending so much time going down those rabbit holes and really trying to understand what's bullshit and what's true. Because to be certain, there's a lot of garbage out there in the conspiracy culture and the conspiracy community. And people... And maybe we're all guilty of it at different times, but I've become, especially as I've started to take my work more serious over the years, I've become like a fact checker in a real way of the conspiracy culture itself, because I see other people, they're getting millions of views, millions of clicks, and they're just repeating things they heard from some other place, or they're sharing a meme with a quote on it, and you go try to look up the quote's not even real, the document doesn't exist. There's just so much bad information floating around there.
Do you reckon that's put out by the CIA?
I think it could be that, but also people are lazy. People are lazy too. People just, like think about like TikTok videos or Instagram videos. It might kind of confirm something that you believe in already. And so you don't go look up the finer details, right? Like you agree with the general thesis of this video says these people are bad, they're doing bad things. And you're like,
that's
okay,
what
cool.
QAnon was, I'm going to share it.
Absolutely. Q is some psychological operation. So I think it's both that there is definitely fake information, but people will just share crap, too.
All the bullshit on the BitChute, from the fear porn to the fake clickbait. Most people distract you.
He knows what's up.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. It's funny. You know what I was thinking? Like, I feel like at the end of the day, like if I have no idea. You probably know way more about. Obviously, you've just made a documentary series on all about it. But like the way what I intuit, like my gut instinct tells me, it's like I think to myself, at the end of the day, it really comes back to the banks. Like they're the ones who are in power, because if there was a revolution, say, at the end of the day, who's going to fund it? You know what I mean? Like if we say, all right, let's cut all the heads off all these prime ministers and presidents and get rid of them all, and just start again, we still need money. We need some kind of way, a currency that we can then exchange, because it's fine if you live on a farm and you make your own organic tomatoes and you want to swap them with something, but most people can't do that, right? So actually we need money to instigate any kind of new system or something like it, right? And I know people going about crypto, but again, look at what just happened with the power grid. Like if that happens, then crypto doesn't make sense anymore. So it's like if you have the
economics is definitely part of the control grid for sure, like you're saying. And see, that's kind of what I've been digging into in this last section. So I mean, have you guys? I'm gonna throw out a couple of names. Have you heard of the Venetian Black Nobility?
No.
Have you heard of the Committee of 300?
No.
So these are like some of these kind of terms that have been thrown around in the conspiracy lore for decades. And I trace them back to the origins. And, again, like sometimes you read about these things and it confirms what we already believe. There are powerful people doing bad things, manipulating the world. But then like when you go back and look at that, well, where did that really come from? Well, the Committee of 300, just one example, that name comes from this guy who wrote a book in the late 80s, early 90s named John Coleman, who claimed to be ex-British MI6, British intelligence. He never provided any evidence of it. Nobody knows for certain. And of course, if he was who he says, maybe they could erase those records. But the point is, he says these things. And a lot of what he said has come true in the last 30 years, like in the things he predicted and some of the people he pointed to. So you can kind of like, it feels correct. But do we have a document somewhere that says this is what the group calls themselves? Like, obviously not, So it does involve some level of speculation. But he was saying it was this black nobility, which is basically the ancient, going back to ancient times, but the current like European houses, the ruling houses, which we tend to think are just figureheads from the past, but apparently still actually hold a lot of power. If you look at who holds all the land in Europe, it's mostly the old royalty of the Netherlands, of course, of the UK, of Italy. And so a lot of these families, these aren't really the Rockefellers and the names that any of us would recognize. It's these families who've kind of gone behind the scenes, and they continue to influence part of the world. And of course, there's theories about, well, they were involved from the beginning of the founding of the United States. And the further you get back, the less clear it gets. But yeah, I do think you're right. It's money for sure.
Sorry to jump in there, but I just want to continue with what you're saying, because it does feel like those families have put things like the UN and government in front of us, between us and them, if you know what I mean. So it feels like we think we've got like this puppet show that we're voting for this like left or right, but none of that makes any sense, because the real power is happening behind that. And that's what what you're talking about, these clubs, you know what I mean? That's what my intuition's always told me. But yeah, I can't absolutely point to anything. Whenever I have an argument with my dad, who totally doesn't think any of this shit's real. I've got no evidence to support anything that I believe actually. So I'm just like, that's why they're theories.
Well, someone in the comments actually said people need to develop. Actually, Daryl's the MVP in the comments for the day. He said people have to develop discernment. And it's like, Ben, maybe you haven't done the research that Derek has done, but you have the discernment. You've always had the discernment. You've always trusted your gut instincts. And I think that that's what more and more people are figuring out how to do, is like, just, during COVID, everybody's tapping in, and a lot of people tapped in and found out like, hey, this doesn't make any sense to me. This seems like a giant scam, and we should stop, complying with these bullshit orders and just live our lives the way we want to. So
it's true.
Yeah. And that intuition is important, that instinct. Cause I feel like even before I've got to this point of where now I'm like, I want to, cause just the way my mind works, it's not good enough for me to kind of have a rough idea. Like I want to get as close as possible to the truth. Even if at the end of it,
you get killed.
Well, even at the end of it, I have to come up with and say, none of us can really know for certain. Like, and that's kind of, I don't want to give away the ending of my documentary, because I definitely do point at some different areas, but you just start to realize, like, the more research you do, the more you understand, you realize how little we actually know, that kind of old thing, and it's just, I think so many people, we have this piece of the puzzle and this piece, and then we might make a leap to something we can assume or think is true. And that might be true, even if we can't currently prove it. Like you said, it's a theory, but at the end of the day, I just kind of I was saying this to Miriam the other day. I was like, because she's been hearing me talk about this every day as I'm researching it. I'm like, I don't think we're ever really going to know. And maybe it doesn't matter, because we're working on getting our land and building our family and trying to be as free and happy as we can and inspire other people and motivate people through music and through other things. And those people are going to be there, and we should still try to expose them and call it out where we can. But short of like what you were saying earlier, Dove, about like, what do we do? Go round them up and kind of like, guillotine, start over. But every revolution I've studied, Russian, French, Spanish, even the American to some degree, like it ends up being where the people who think they're the good guys end up becoming the same thing that they're fighting, because they're like, well, the only way to stop the counter revolutionaries is to start taking out everybody who might turn against me. So all of a sudden you're the authoritarian, you're the one, that wants to use the cops and the state to enforce your will. So I just think that trying to live in the way we want and be the embodiment of that is just, it's like the best thing we can actually do. And that's, to me, that's what's great about your music, man, and about what we're trying to do with this tour.
Yeah, man. Well, it's funny we were talking about the revolutions there and how they kind of turn back on themselves, like they become the bad guy. I often wonder, right? Like there was the revolution in 74 against Salazar here in Portugal. 79, yeah, they had a bloodless revolution after like 50 years of dictatorship to this hardcore dictator, basically. And the thing is, the more I look into it, the more it sounds, and this is not what people say, but the more it sounds like the Freemasons basically organized it. You know what I mean? Like the more I can't prove it, I can't point anything to it, but it just the more I hear and read about it, I'm like, yeah, that would have happened if there was influence from France, because that's like the French and the Spanish had a lot of, well, mainly the French actually had a lot more influence on the revolution than people realize here in Portugal. And the French are big Freemasons, and there's a lot
The
of
French Revolution was filled with Masons, and it was
Exactly.
that's actually when the first kind of talk of the So the original Bavarian Illuminati with Adam Weishaupt is 1776. Within 10 years, they're like banned everywhere, all over Germany or what was Bavaria. But they had already started spreading, and their whole goal was that they were going to infiltrate Freemason lodges and use that infrastructure that was already there. And some people argue the Masons were already evil or whatever, but in this sort of version, Weishaupt was like, look, they've got the infrastructure, they're already connected to people. Let's start bringing our Illuminati theory into them. And then they get banned, they get exposed. But in reality, they spread out, and they definitely, like the Jacobins and the French Revolution, a bunch of Masons. The U.S. had Masons in it. Even I just learned this recently, I included this in my documentary, that the overthrowing or the annexing of Hawaii, there was something called the Committee of Safety, and more than half the people on this Committee of Safety, which basically took Hawaii and made it part of the U.S., they were all Freemasons. And so
There
you
you
see
go.
this kind of pattern like over and over and over.
Man, I just like one thing that I kind of noticed, because I did a lot of touring when I started. I had videos go viral in 2008, 2009. All of a sudden, I started getting flown all over Europe, all over the world, right? And I was playing everywhere. And what I noticed was like every major city has the obelisks in the center of them, whether it's Moscow, whether it's all over America, London, France, right? And I just was like, I didn't know what any of that meant at the time. And the more I started looking into it, the more I realized that's the presence of Freemasons. And I'm like, if Freemasons are everywhere and run the world, then it's very likely that the Cold War between Russia and America wasn't even a real. It was like something that was fed to us through the media, because it feels like the Russians and the Americans, they're all Freemasons anyway. So they've obviously got some kind of agenda going on. And war is just one of those ways that they use to keep their own populations in check. I mean, that's not old. That's not a new concept, right? We've all heard of that before. Like America needs Putin in order to stay united to some degree. You know what I mean? Whether it's
and they're
Putin
still,
or whether it's go on.
They're still playing that exact narrative to this day. Like the Cold War never really ended to a degree, because they're still playing the Russia versus, they're always playing one boogeyman government off another boogeyman government. But in reality, it's just government, period. It's the mind virus that, I think we're trying to eliminate that mind virus. Government, to govern, to control, meant the mind is mind control. That's what we're here to end through music, to hopefully will open people's eyes through music to that. So
we turned into a conspiracy podcast real quick.
Oh yeah, we went into
I thought that's what this was supposed to be. What do you mean? Like I came for that. Give me some theories. I wanted some new ones.
What you're saying is totally true though, Dub. Like this is why I'm skeptical. Like you said, whether you're talking about stuff that was when we were young or even before we were born, this is why I'm skeptical every time I see some news report of like, oh, Russia and China and the US. It's, it doesn't mean that there aren't differences and that there aren't cultural differences and they might not agree on everything. But at the end of the day, this pyramid structure and the people at the top who are governments and behind governments, they're going to agree with each other 100 times out of 100 before they side with the people. So even if they have minor differences and like, okay, well, we can't agree on this things. And sometimes that might play out in reality where they, we see some world event happen and they tell us it's one thing, but behind the scenes, it's because of something else. But yeah, I think that World War III, that idea, and nuclear war and these kind of things, it's a helpful kind of a fear tactic they keep in their back pocket all the time. And they can just pull, every year it's like, oh, are we on the edge of World War III? And then in the US, it's like civil war. Are we about to break out into civil war? Like they played that a whole lot the last 8 years. And I think it just serves their ends. It doesn't mean, again, that there couldn't ever be real conflicts, but it definitely feels to me like that's another manipulation tactic.
Yeah.
Sure. The word Masons is really interesting too. I know it's late for you, Ben, so we could wrap up whenever you want. But
I'm good. You've given me all the energy I need to keep rolling, man. Unless you guys need to leave.
But the Mason thing is interesting because what are Masons? Masons are people who work with stone. And you mentioned the obelisks, but also like, why do we see this type of what they call Greco-Roman style architecture all over Europe, all over North America, all over Australia, I'm sure, all over pretty much any continent? You can find this kind of magnificent architecture with these big, giant stone columns and these buildings that have withstood the test of time, whereas modern day buildings don't even last more than, maybe a couple decades at most. And to me, it points to the fact that there was an advanced civilization way more recently. You know, they're constantly pushing this Graham Hancock narrative now of like, oh, advanced civilizations existed 12,000 years ago. 12,000 years ago isn't relatable to the average person because it's so long ago that we can't even really relate to that. But what if there was actually, you know, a high civilization, a high technological civilization that had advanced free energy technology and healing technology and musical frequency technology, you know, as recently as 100 years ago, and these were our, you know, we're directly descended from these people, and
Are you
all
talking
of the
about the Tartarians?
exactly, and then maybe all the major wars, all of this World War I,
Here
World
we
War
go.
II, you know, we're getting this narrative of like, oh, it's all this war, you know, we're fighting. What is the real purpose of the war? They just bombed the shit out of the whole place to try to destroy as much of the ancient civilization as possible, and it's not actually an ancient civilization. It's right there before our eyes. They never tell you about it in school, but it's right there for everyone to see that we actually are we have the capability of being advanced beings, you know, we have the capability of being higher dimensional conscious beings already, and we have the power to be godlike creators. Like, Ben, your music, when you jump up on stage and you freaking rock an audience, like you're stepping into your creator god energy, and people feel that, and that's why people are magnetized to that energy. And I think that that's the biggest thing that they want to keep from us, because if we all step into that creator god type of energy, we're unstoppable, and we can completely move forward without the need for any governments or any control systems. So
Totally.
Straight
Agreed.
up. Grant, you brought up, somebody commented this when you were talking. For reals though, Rome supposedly fell according to history, but it didn't go anywhere. And this kind of ties into not only the technology side of what you're talking about, but the whole idea of this Venetian black nobility. Of course, Venetian from Venice, from Rome, is that power, which we know about the Roman Empire, the Holy Roman Empire, the Church, the Vatican's there, that it just spread out around the world. And then some of that influence ended up like what you were talking about, Dub, with the same architecture and type of obelisks and other things appearing in different parts of the world. And then, of course, there's other theories that try to take it all the way back to Egypt and other places. And I find those interesting, but I don't know if we can fully prove that. But we can definitely prove that the banking houses and the royal families from Rome, from 1,000 years, were definitely influential. The whole mainstream story is that in the 1960s, they lost a lot of that power. The Pope issued some kind of document and basically limited what the black nobility had access to. Apparently, they had like their own special license plates. They were able to buy food in the Vatican at like a super discounted price, and all sorts of like advantages to their nobility or their alleged nobility. And so the
This probably still goes on now in Vatican.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The mainstream story is like, okay, that disappeared in the 1960s. They're no longer influential. Pay no attention. These are just ancient families that are super rich. But it does appear like they still have a lot of power. I mean, I would say it's like you got groups like the black nobility, Venetian nobility, whatever you want to call that. And then definitely there's a lot of Zionists and Jewish people involved in banking and finance and other areas. The Jesuits, the Catholic Church, the Vatican, like the Pope, obviously influential, and then the Masons and other secret societies. I don't necessarily know if we can say, oh, this one's on top of the other. It seems like maybe they're constantly at war and collaborating and sort of back and forth.
Totally. I feel like, and actually that's something I was saying to someone the other night, that if they do have some grand plan to go into their, like underground bunkers and kill all of us, right? They also all need to be ready for the fact that they're only going to have each other to live with. And I reckon they all fucking hate each other anyway. So I don't think, you know what I mean? I don't see Bill Gates and Elon Musk having games of poker on the weekends when there's no one left. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they're not going to fit that switch, I don't think, until they're all in their buddies. You know what I mean? I don't think they ever will be, because they're all megalomaniac psychopaths that don't give a shit about anyone but themselves. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Maybe the best we can hope is that they just take each other out in their own war and leave us alone.
Hopefully. Right. I mean, that's what all the QAnon stuff was saying. I don't believe that for a second. I don't know. I reckon it's so complicated and so convoluted, and even they don't really quite understand the top of the pyramid themselves anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it's like when you've got secret societies, the thing about Freemasonry that I've read about is that Freemasons don't even know who the people above them actually are, because it's so secretive. You don't really know, right? I mean, maybe you could tell me more about that, Derek, but like apparently they don't actually know who their real top masters are. Like, they might know who's above them, but not who's above them. You know what I mean? or am I wrong with that?
I definitely think there's probably confusion about that because again, I'm not an expert on the whole history of Freemasonry, but what I've learned for sure is just like any other philosophy, religion, whatever, it's super divided. You've got Scottish Freemasonry, you got this one, and they all have their own histories. Some of them that claim they've been, going back to the Knights Templar and this and that. Others who say that's just a bunch of silly stories. And then you can meet people who say they're 32nd degree Freemasons and they promise that there's nothing bad going on with it. But I actually learned in my research that we know a lot more about them and their various rituals than probably the public knows because people just don't pay attention. But there's been so many different books that have been leaked from Masons and others since at least the 1700s where their rituals came out. And of course, that just gets in the whole area of like, well, how much of it's real? How much is it maybe fabricated? And it's also interesting too. This is just like a whole nother thing. I won't take it too far. I do got to bounce in just a few minutes. But what I was reflecting on recently is when you look at it from a different angle, and this is not to say the Illuminati or the Freemasons are good guys or anything, but a lot of what they were doing originally was rebelling against the power of the monarchy and the church, which at those times, 1700s, was pretty all powerful. It was pretty much like, if you said something that was blasphemous against God, next thing you know, you're getting burned at the stake or whatever, right? A lot of our ancestors may have been burned at the stake, or at least would have been called witches or warlocks or whatever for even considering anything outside of that. And then, of course,
the word faggot, right, comes from the gay guys that they would throw in with the witches. They weren't even on the stake; they were just in with the pile of wood. So they called them faggots.
This pile of sticks. And so then you have that at the same time, you got this divine right of kings, right? Where the king's word, everybody, it's basically those two powers work together, the Pope and the church. And then whoever was the monarch that said he was, appointed by God. And then some people started to come about like in the Enlightenment ideas of saying freedom of speech. And maybe we should all be individually sovereign. And maybe the church doesn't have complete control over us. So in some ways they were like rebelling against what they saw as superstition and just the dominance of the church in the state, which are things I think we probably would support and agree, like, hey, I don't want them over me any more than I want anybody else. But then some of that turned into, like we were talking about the French Revolution, where they go to the opposite extreme, where then all of a sudden they're saying no religion, burning churches, killing priests and pastors. And to them, they had like their God was the God of supreme reason. And so they wanted to put that above everything else. So obviously they went a little extreme in that direction. And that's why a lot of the religious types, the Christian truthers and stuff, are very much against these ideas, because they're like, oh, they're trying to turn people away from God and away from the church. But if you think about it in the context of the time, it's kind of understandable why people would be that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I reckon also, I think someone told me once, I can't remember where I heard this, but they were talking about that, like a lot of lodges and Freemason lodges started out as just gay guys getting together to shag because like they weren't allowed to, right? And it's like, you think about it, you live in a world where that's like you die if you're gay, so they have to meet in secret. Next thing they know, let's do this regularly. We can talk about how we can sort of not die together, you know what I mean? And then that would have expanded. So, which apparently that's what someone was saying, that's why there's so many weird gay rituals in a lot of those, like, Freemason things. Like, you want to get in, you got to do some weird gay shit, right? So, not that obviously whatever, like, but it's like that's where that came from. Someone was explaining it to me one time.
Canceled.
Cancel Benji.
We're all gay at the end of the day.
Hey guys, I gotta head out in a few minutes, but come on tour, talk conspiracies with us, jam out. Ben, is this your first time coming back to the US since the first time you came, like back in 2014, or have you been in the US since then?
Well, I can't remember anymore. It's such a blur. I come to Canada quite a lot, so that get mixed in there. But I think the last time I did a gig in the US was a long time ago. It might have been 2014 or 2015, actually.
I'm pretty sure it's when we met in New York City, because I think that was like at least your first kind of foray into the US.
That video, can I address that video just for one?
Yeah, I should have played it.
Please don't. I was watching that and I was like, oh my goodness, what am I saying? Like, it's funny how like sometimes when you're on a roll and you're talking and like I've come to the realization that people can't read my mind as much as I assume they can. So like back in the day, I used to just say, just blurt out stuff and then like think that, yeah, they get what I mean. And I watched that video. I'm like, I don't know what I mean. Like I was this one bit where I said, And I kind of was like, oh, damn, that sounded so bad. Where I said something along the lines of, I just hang out with people that serve me a purpose. And it's like, I know what I'm trying
I knew
to
what
say.
you were saying. I
knew
knew what
I
you were
meant to
saying.
say. Well, I kind of get into it, but it's like, it sounds like I'm just some crazy sociopath that's just like using people. And I just want to address that's not the way I feel at all. Like, actually, what I meant was, I don't hang out with people that are just bum me out and negative vibes and it just leeching off me. That's kind of what I meant to say. And so in a way, like the people that I only surround myself with are people that inspire me to be better, which is kind of, but it sounded when I said they only serve me a purpose, I'm like, whoa, that's like, never show that to my wife because she would just be like, what are you doing? Like, what were you doing back in the day? She's always schooling me on like, just try and word it maybe like this and it won't come across like that. And I'm like, oh, that's a good point. So
I knew what you were saying though, because I mean, I resonated with honestly what you're saying because the way I interpret, at least the way I heard it was that like, it's something I try to practice that I don't have space in my life for people who are just going to be like picking at me, bringing me down. Like I have space for people like you guys where we're going to uplift each other, encourage each other, that kind of thing. And that's what I was taking from what you were saying that, you know, and also I remember the conversation started because you were wearing an anarchy necklace. And that's kind of where I was like, oh, I was just getting into anarchism at the time and super nerding on that. I was like, cool, that's where I'll start. I'll ask him about that and see where it goes.
Yeah, there you go. Sweet, good. I'm glad that you because yeah, I was a bit like, damn, that could come. Oh, here we go. Here it is.
Oh, dude, the mohawk, bro.
That was a dreadhawk. Yeah, there we go.
I look like Grant.
Wow.
I look a little bit like Prezence.
That was 2014. Yeah, no, 2013, April 2013 in New York City. So it's been a journey, man. And this is what I was sharing earlier with Grant is that for me, doing this tour with you guys is definitely a full circle moment. Like to connect with you back then, to have been inspired by you, get a chance to kind of interview you and share that and try to promote your music that way, to then bringing you to the UK for the People's Reset and then to Mexico. And now just to do a few shows with you guys, this is a dream come true. So I'm super stoked and I hope everybody out there comes. I was going to say, man, is there any particular city that you're looking forward to, like a new city you haven't been to in the US?
Well, I haven't been to Salt Lake City, but I've been to the other ones that I'll be going. I've been to Portland and where are we going? Starting off
Seattle, Denver.
Yeah, I've been to Seattle, Denver. I love Seattle. That was like the place that reminded me the most of Melbourne. But I also really like Denver because like that felt like probably if I lived in the US, it's probably where I would be. But yeah, looking forward to Salt Lake City because I haven't seen that. I like Portland as well when I was there. So I'm lucky that wherever I go and I play my shows, my audience comes out and I feel at home wherever I am. You know what I mean? So, but I just want to say, man, like it's a real honor for me to be working with you guys as well because like I for a longest time haven't met a lot of people that are on the same kind of mission as me. You know what I mean? Especially in Europe, there are people out there doing it, but like not who are like actually gung ho like you guys, like, you know, Prezence, like your lyrics and your songs like are inspiring me. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you said I've inspired you, but like there's a bit of a, you know, a cycle going on there with the music, and same with you as well, man. Like Derek, like what you do with the People's Reset, I would love to be involved with that forever now, man. Like I just met so many people with that I was just like, man, this is like feels like a family. So to be working with you and doing these shows with you, and Elias is going to come down. I absolutely love Elias as well. She's so dope. And, you know, she's on Sahita's album on a couple of tracks there. And I've actually got an unreleased track that I'm working on with you as well, Derek. And I was going to send it to you as well, Grant, but maybe like we've got other stuff we can do promote. But yeah, I'll send it to you as well. But don't have to.
I'm recording my verse this week. I'm so stoked for it.
Really? I heard the beat and I was like, that sounds like something 33 would be on.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
But yeah, I'll send it to you as well, Grant.
The inspiration is all mutual, and yeah, I feel super grateful to be a part of this, and it's going to be a really good time. So hopefully anybody who's listening in the comments, check it out. Go to dubfx.com or presencemusic.com if you want to get tickets for these. Also, Rise and Vibes is going to be fire. We're super stoked for Rise and Vibes. It's my third year playing there, and it's always just an amazing one. So, and then Canada. Someone just asked, what about Canada? We should do a small tour there. I don't know if this is officially announced yet, but Benji, you want to tell them about Canada?
We're doing it. Well, I mean, I think you're coming to those, right? You're definitely
I'm there.
Sweet. So it's Scarfest in Victoria, and then there's a show in Vancouver, I think, right?
Yeah, Vancouver.
Somewhere. I don't know where, but
yeah. So those will be up on the website soon. But let me put the.
Yeah, you got on the website, you got Victoria Ska Fest and then Ship Point in Victoria.
Oh,
Big Fest is the 20th.
Oh, and then, then in Vancouver. Yeah.
Vancouver.
So those are all at doublefx.com, everybody.
That Ship Point is this Victoria Ska Fest. So I don't know why it's up
I think it's the same one.
Yeah, it is the same one. I think they just tested the, yeah. Anyway, so those two. But hopefully we'll do more in Canada. I mean, I don't think we'll do more this time around, but yeah, we'll be coming back. I mean, I've got my US visa sorted. I got an O1 visa, so that just came through. So I've got the next 5 years to come to US, so long as you guys are still there.
Yeah,
there's no power outages.
Yeah, man.
Well, hey Dub, what did you want to end with, man? I loaded up 2 songs. One of yours is "Cracks in the Mirror" that you did recently live with Mr. Woodnote, but then I also have Sahita and Elias's "Energy Ball" too. So maybe we could go out with one of those.
Dude, Energy Ball, man. That's like, I got to say, I'm so proud of my wifey. Like, we've been working on this album for maybe 5 years on and off. The last year we went proper deep into it, and I feel like this is the best record I've ever been a part of, man. Like, you know, I produced all the music and mixed and mastered it, and you know, she wrote all the songs actually. Like, I mean, I wrote my bits, and everyone who contributed, you know, brought their own things to the table essentially. But you know, she basically was the mastermind. She was the one telling me, like, yes, I don't want it like this, and I'd mix the track down and I'd do a thing to it. I'm like, hey, I made it sound like this, and I put this thing in there, and she'd be like, nah, I want it. I appreciate that, but I want to do this. And I'm like, oh, really? And at first I'd be all bummed, and then I'd like do the thing that she asked, and at the end I'm like, oh, she was totally right. Like she just
nice.
She knew exactly what she wanted, and that's like so refreshing because like I'm so out in the open. I'm very much just like, yay, anything's possible. Whatever happens, and I just let the moment go. But she came with it with the knowing exactly where she wanted it to end up, and I feel like we achieved it in the end, and I'm super proud of this record. So yeah, anyway, everyone go out and listen to it. It's super good.
Yeah, I've been loving jamming it. All right, guys, one more time, go to doublefx.com, presencemusic.com, or 33ishere.com. You can find all the details. We're coming to Salt Lake City, Denver, Rising Vibes in New Mexico, Portland, and Seattle. And then these guys are going to Canada, and a lot more coming up. So thank you guys for being here. Anything else, Brother Presence?
Yeah, thanks for having us, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Till next time, remember, you are powerful, you are beautiful, and you are free. Enjoy this.
Sometimes you're giving all the back, so you never get it back. And you can't put your finger on it, the flow is out of whack. You're feeling kinda strange in the funky interchange. Feel a little insecure, was it something that you said? You feel depleted, defeated, the garden isn't weeded. Feel there's something missing, so you give it what is needed. Some water, some juice, a little fertilizer. Levy up the conversation, little appetizer. It's the energy ball, the energy ball, the energy ball, the energy ball. If you're passing it on, I'll be passing it back. I'll be sharing all the energy and holding it all. It's the energy ball, the energy ball, the energy ball, the energy ball. If you're passing it on, I'll be passing it back. I'll be sharing all the energy and holding it all. Not all people are your people, fly like an eagle. Rise above the power, play your royal and your regal. Get a bird's eye view over mountains and valleys. Use your third IQ through the streets and the alleys. You'll be alright with your hindsight, delight in hindsight. Pull back your shoulders so your heart can shine bright. Just stay open, stay kind. In your heart, in your mind. Watch the energy ball, the energy ball, the energy ball, the energy ball. If you're passing it on, I'll be passing it back. Sharing all the energy, your heart in it all. Thank you.
like you, I take the energy ball and have a ball with it. I share the glow cause you know I want us all lifted. Rising with my sis, yes, that's a gift. Feeling safe with my brothers, enough to share, that's a gift. Let the energy uplift, dissolve and assist. On a mission well equipped to raise consciousness. Pure energy and frequency, yes, the vibe's lit. Phase shift in my spaceship with a plot twist. But the energy's steady even when the fog thick. Jedi mind tricks in the mist, hard and full effect. Take the ball, what's next? Live and direct when my energy is focused with the love and intent. See what happens with the full send. All in, concentrate the energy and visualize the wind. Grounded in an essence, firmly rooted deep within. All in, see what happens, full send.
Don't give away your power, finding love in the wrong places. Acceptance isn't necessary, but loving yourself is. It's revolutionary. Don't give away your power, finding love in the wrong places. Acceptance isn't necessary, loving yourself is. It's revolutionary. Don't give away your power, finding love in the wrong places. Acceptance isn't necessary, but loving yourself is. It's revolutionary. Don't give away your power, finding love in the wrong places. Acceptance isn't necessary, but loving yourself